Book of Heaven, Volume 6. 3rd to the 29th of December 1904. Page 67 to 72. December 3, 1904. The mistakes contained in these writings. 2 questions to know whether it is God or the devil that operates in Luisa. Continuing in my usual state, I found myself outside of myself, cast to the ground, before the sun, whose rays penetrated through the whole of me, inside and out, leaving me as though enchanted. After much time, tired of that position, I began to crawl on the ground, for I did not have the strength to get up and walk. Then, after I struggled very much, a virgin came, who took me by the hand and led me inside a room, on a bed, in which there was baby Jesus placidly sleeping. Content for having found him, I placed myself near him, but without waking him up. After some time, as he woke up, he began to stroll on the bed, and I, fearing that he might disappear, said, "Pretty little one of my heart, you know that you are my life. Oh please, do not leave me." And he, "Let us establish how many times I must come." And I, "My only good, what are you saying? Life is always necessary, therefore always, always." In the meantime 2 priests came, and the baby withdrew into the arms of one of them, commanding me to speak with the other. This one wanted an account of my writings, and was reviewing them one by one. Fearing, I said to him, "Who knows how many mistakes are in there?" And he, with affable seriousness, said, "What mistakes? Against the Christian law?" And I, "No, grammar mistakes." And he, "This doesn't matter." And I, gaining confidence, added, "I fear that it may be all an illusion." And he, looking straight at me, replied, "Do you think I need to review your writings to know whether you are a deluded one or not? With 2 questions I will ask you, I will know whether it is God or the devil that operates in you. First, do you think that you have deserved all the graces that God has given you, or that they have been gift and grace of God? And I, everything by the grace of God. Second, do you think that in all the graces that the Lord has given you your good will has anticipated grace, or that grace has anticipated you? And I, certainly grace has always anticipated me. And he, these answers make me know that you are not a deluded one. At that moment I found myself inside myself. December 4, 1904. It is easier to fight with God than with obedience. As I was very agitated, and with the fear that blessed Jesus no longer wanted me in this state, I felt an interior strength to go out of it, and this strength I felt within me was so great that, unable to contain it, I kept repeating, "I feel tired, I cannot take any more." And in my interior I heard being said to me, "I too feel tired, I can take no more. It is necessary that you remain completely suspended from the state of victim for a few days, so as to let them make the decision for wars, then I will make you fall again. And then, when they do make the wars, we'll see what should be done with you." I did not know what to do. Obedience did not want it, and fighting with obedience is the same as surmounting a mountain that fills the earth and touches the heavens, and without a path on which to walk, therefore, insurmountable. I don't know whether this is foolishness, but I believe that it is easier to fight with God than with this terrible virtue. So, agitated as I was, I found myself outside of myself in front of a crucifix, and I said, "Lord, I can take no more, my nature has failed me. I lack the necessary strength to be able to continue in this state of victim. If you want me to continue, give me the strength, otherwise I quit." While I was saying this, a fountain of blood gushed out from that crucifix, toward heaven, and falling back over the earth it converted into fire. Several virgins were saying, "For France, Italy, Austria and England." And they were mentioning other nations, but I did not understand well. Most grave wars are prepared, civil and governmental. On hearing this, I became all frightened, and I found myself inside myself. I myself could not decide what I should follow, whether the interior strength that pushed me to go out of the state of victim, or the strength of obedience that pushed me to stay. Both of them were strong and powerful over my weak and poor being. So far, it seems that obedience prevails, though with difficulty, and I don't know where I will end up. December 6, 1904. The beginning of eternal beatitude is to lose every taste of one's own. As I continued struggling, blessed Jesus came for just a little, and I saw myself as naked, stripped of everything. Perhaps a soul more miserable than I am cannot be found, so extreme is my misery. What a dismal change! If the Lord does not make a new miracle of His omnipotence to make me rise again from this state, I will certainly die of misery. Then blessed Jesus told me, "My daughter, courage, the beginning of eternal beatitude is to lose every taste of one's own." In fact, as the soul keeps losing her own tastes, the divine tastes take possession of her, and the soul, having undone and lost herself, no longer recognizes herself. She finds nothing else of her own, not even spiritual things. Seeing that the soul has nothing else of her own, God fills her with all of Himself and replenishes her with all the divine happinesses. Only then can the soul truly be called blessed, because as long as she had something of her own, she could not be exempt from bitternesses and fears, nor could God communicate His happiness to her. No soul that enters the port of eternal beatitude can be exempted from this point. Painful, yes, but necessary, nor can she do without it. Generally they do it at the point of death, and purgatory does the last job. This is why, if creatures are asked what God's taste is, what divine beatitude means, these are things unknown to them and they are unable to articulate a word. But with the souls who are my beloved, since they have given themselves completely to me, I do not want their beatitude to have beginning up there in heaven, but to have beginning down here on earth. I want to fill them not only with the happiness, with the glory of heaven, but I want to fill them with the goods, with the sufferings, with the virtues that my humanity had upon earth. Therefore I strip them, not only of material tastes, which the soul considers as dung, but also of spiritual tastes, in order to fill them completely with my goods and give them the beginning of true beatitude. December 22, 1904. The more the soul is empty and humble, the more the divine light fills her and communicates its graces and perfections to her. As I was in my usual state, I saw little baby Jesus with a fistful of light in his hand, and rays flowing out through his fingers. I remained enchanted, and he told me, "My daughter, perfection is light, and one who says he wants to reach it acts just like one who would want to clasp a body of light in his hand. As he tries to clasp it, the light itself flows out through his fingers, except, his hand remains immersed in that light." Now, the light is God, and God alone is perfect, and the soul who wants to be perfect does nothing but sees shadows, the little drops of God, and sometimes she does nothing but live in the light alone, that is, in the truth. And just as the light penetrates deeper and occupies more space, the greater the void it finds, and the deeper the place is, in the same way, the more the soul is empty and humble, the more the divine light fills her and communicates its graces and perfections to her. December 29, 1904. Most of the time, human weakness is lack of vigilance and of attention. As I was in my usual state, I was thinking about the most humiliating steps that our Lord suffered, and I would feel horror within myself. But then I would say to myself, "Lord, forgive those who renew for you these sorrowful steps, because too great is the weakness that man contains." At that moment blessed Jesus came for just a little and told me, "My daughter, that which is said to be human weakness, most of the time is lack of vigilance and of attention from one who is leader, that is, from parents and superiors." In fact, when a creature is watched over and checked, and is not given the freedom she wants, not receiving its nourishment, the weakness is destroyed by itself, while yielding to one's weakness is nourishment to becoming worse in that weakness. Then he added, "Ah, my daughter, just as the soul becomes impregnated with virtue like a dry sponge becomes soaked with water, that is, with light, with beauty, with grace, with love, in the same way, sin and the weaknesses that one yields to, impregnate the soul just like a sponge becomes soaked with mud, that is, with darkness, with ugliness, and even with hatred against God."